Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is Elaine Williams, and I am here with Kathy Keegan and our fabulous, amazing guest, Doreen Downing. Did I say it right, Doreen?
You sure did.
Yay! Woohoo! As a comedian, I have butchered some names out of nerves. So this is Still Human podcast. Kathy and I decided we wanted to bring a podcast about being vulnerable and creating fun and laughing at ourselves as we build our businesses as coaches, speakers, authors. And we have the most amazing guest today. Doreen is a therapist. Did I say it right? Is it a...
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a psychologist.
A psychologist. And she helps people find their voice from the inside out. And that's what I do. But when we were talking, I was like, oh my God, she was dropping these pearls of wisdom and she has this beautiful sense of humor. And I was like, you have to be in our podcast. So without further ado, welcome, Doreen. We're so excited that you're here.
Welcome. Yes, I've been looking forward too. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Elaine.
Awesome. So if people are, don't know you, can you just do a little intro about what you do and who you are and who you help?
Yes. Well, let's see. Do it briefly or to have fun with it.
Oh, have fun with it. I always joke like, well, when I was 3, and then I go, I'm just kidding. Because you can see people go, oh God, no. Have fun with it.
All right. Well, let's see. When I got my PhD in psychology at the University of California, Berkeley, I went into a depression because I felt like I was going to be stuck in my office, and that just didn't suit me. I had been in the Peace Corps. I had been traveling. I'm a traveling spirit, like you guys, right? And so the whole idea of, wow, just planting myself in an office felt not so good. But that's what I did for a long time. And partly I did that because it was safe. I had a fear of speaking in public. And there must have been some kind of wisdom to find a profession where all I had to do was sit and listen. And yeah, and there's truth to that for sure. I love listening, but still no attention on me. So somebody would ask a personal question and, you get real good at, no, tell me, where did that question come from?
How did that question make you feel as you were asking it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, I could wander around telling you more about myself, but I just thought that I'd start by saying something more personal. And just eventually, finally, I was confronted by an organizer who wanted me to speak at a conference. And I said, oh, not me. No way. I'm afraid of speaking in public. And the organizer confronted me and said, but fear's your business. And that was actually a turning point. I would say that was a turning point in my life.
Fear is your business. I love how you introduced yourself and how you talked about that moment of, I remember graduating from college and it was one of the most depressing days of my life because I had no idea what to do next. I had a lot of intellectual knowledge, but I had no idea of how to apply it or what to do or a sense of purpose or any of that. And so I've had a lot of wake-up calls over the years. I love your wake-up call, that it came from someone who just told you, hey, guess what? Fear is your business, because there's love and there's fear, and everything stems from all of it.
Yes, and we have to know that. I love what you just said too, Kathy, because it is, do we know what love is? Have we found love? And I'm not sure I really knew what love was, which is something Elaine, I know, wants to talk about at some point today with me. Yeah.
I love it. I'm like, how long do you guys have? 5 hours? Like, let's go. I love this. I was just thinking as I was plugging in my Ethernet so I could be a good podcaster, trying to be the good girl still. I was thinking how I got one of those like sound things and I've used it a couple of times and I laughed because I realized the reason I wanted it because it would make me feel like a real podcaster. And so once again, I unconsciously bought something for outside validation. And I mean, I guess the gift is it wasn't thousands. Thank you, God. The lessons are getting fewer thousands. And that I could catch it and go, oh, okay. Feeling like a real podcaster, whatever the heck that means, comes from within. And, it's just so interesting. I feel like I'm constantly trying to catch my insides up with my outsides, but it's getting faster. It's not, taking years, but, yeah, so I love that. She said fear is your business. So I have a question. Did you go on stage at that conference?
No, she was in the planning stages and I refused. I have to tell you that even being with other psychologists doing case presentations, maybe just 6 in the room, and you go around when it's your turn, like 2 people away, 1 person away, my heart would be beating so fast. And it hurt my head because the pounding went straight up into my, to my brain. And so it was hard for me to speak even in small groups. And just one other example, even at my family dinner table, not my immediate family, but, when we have reunions and people gather, I didn't want to be the center of attention. I always laid back and listened.
Wow. But, and now you've transformed your fear. And I believe we teach what we need to learn on a whole other level, right? And so ironically, that's one of your expertise areas is helping your patients find their voice.
Yes, I think that I did my first class. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and at the time it was called the Learning Annex, where there were all sorts of learning opportunities. You guys are both nodding your heads like you
I did
know
one
what
in New York for sure. Yeah.
What was yours? What one did you do in New York?
Oh, I did like how to travel because I love to travel too. I'm like so like excited. It was like how to make your travel pay for itself, and of course I did stuff about like acting and marketing.
Nice.
What about you, Kathy? What did you do?
Well, I did things like, I don't know if it was Learning Annex, but I'm familiar with it both from Boston and from New York. So,
yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So the first class was how to overcome your fear of public speaking. And it was terrifying to even make the choice to go. So I really understand what people experience when they feel like, oh, I could avoid it and I don't have to really, my life is okay. Because if you really want to change a fear, you have to go toward it. And that was, taking myself over to San Francisco, parking the car, driving up and walking up to the class and then sitting there just heart pounding, scared. And, I already had a PhD in psychology, you guys.
I know, doesn't it feel like I the way I feel sometimes is that, darn it, haven't I done enough? Can I get a freebie here? Can I get, do I have to keep working at things? And the answer is yes. And
you get to. Yes, and yes, we love that, Kathy. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, I think that's it. Yes, and we get to. I think that was the perfect tagline to that.
Interruption.
No. What the whole idea that we just keep trying things. Susan David, who wrote Emotional Agility, talks about courage is fear walking. And that idea of going and doing things, that even though we have that oogie feeling wherever it happens to be, I've been trying to repurpose that energy and think of it as the energy I need to show up. It still doesn't feel pleasant, but now I know what it's for. And so I feel like it serves, since it's serving a purpose that's to help me, I feel okay about it. I feel better about it. Just a little shift that
Love it.
So I want to hear more. So you're in the classroom, hoping you never get picked.
Your heart is pounding. You're schwitzing.
Yes. Well, I realized that was the only way to approach my fear is to go to a class with somebody who was a guide. Maybe I don't know if he was a coach what, but he had a certain process. And I thought that exposing my fear was the key to dissolving it. And so I decided, well, I don't know if it was a decision, but I did go back to that same class over and over and over again. Maybe 6 months. Every month I'd show up at his class, and just got easier in over time. And I decided, okay, next, what about Toastmasters? That's a place that people go who have fear of speaking. And I would say that the Toastmasters helped me write a speech and deliver it and get all the ums and ahs out of my speaking. But it still didn't, there was still deep fear standing up in front of people, exposing myself. And I really wanted to be more of who I am, which is an introvert, and be okay with that. I didn't want to be a prancing kind of around the stage, stomping my hand and having vocal variety. I wanted to just
Hey, what's wrong with that?
I just wanted to be myself, whoever that was. So next was this whole inner journey. And that's what I think for me, and what I think I offer people is a guide into the inner realms where fear exists. And I do, it's really, if you have a safe guide, you guys know this, if you provide safety for those and they trust you, it feels like they could go in any dark corner and open their eyes and look at what's so scary and see the little vulnerable part inside that says, I don't want to come out. People are going to judge me. I'm not going to be liked, and I'm going to lose whatever it is that I have to lose. And so just standing there with people as they look at themselves and all the little corners, the pockets of the fear that's inside of them. So I think that's just the first step, is looking.
You hit on a couple of things. One is repetition, practice, and process. When you went to that class, you discovered that there is a process. And learning that process is one of the ways to help prepare you. Practice is a way to continue to prepare for that. And that has helped me enormously in my life, realizing that, there is a process for handling emotions. You can make up your own. I got one from somebody else, but it works really, really well. And so that whole idea of a guide, a trusted guide, and that's the other key. Elaine and I have talked a lot about being in certain kinds of, very high dollar investments that we made into certain kinds of coaching, so-called coaching, where it isn't a safe container. They have not created a safe container. And I would say that when you're venturing out for anything, that safe container is the most important thing. Has that person who you're drawn to created safety for you? It's really powerful.
Yes. And I think that all my years of training as a psychologist, that's one of my strengths, is providing a learning, inspired environment where people can feel they can feel the possibility, but they also feel the safety that you're talking about. And the yes, I can. You guys use the yes and.
Yes,
again.
Yeah. Love it.
And the other thing is vocabulary. So the word that you used when you talked about going on stage was expose yourself. So part of my brain said, was she parading around naked on the stage, or what's going on here?
She flashed her bottom.
But that word is a powerful word. And so there's a lot that we can learn by the words that we choose to use to talk about how we're approaching anything. And so I thought, exposing yourself mentally, baring your soul, and opening yourself up to the natural criticism that happens from the worst part of, not say the worst part of ourselves, but probably the most instinctive part of ourselves, or unconscious part of ourselves.
or the learned part of ourselves.
Mm.
The way that we were treated, or early on, if somebody was judging us, we take that inside of our own brain and make that part of us.
Yeah.
We carry those voices.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. I always say it's like peeling layers, but it's like unlearning, right? Because we all grew up with conditioning.
Yeah.
We all were born into these conversations called American, identify as female, growing up, wherever you grew up with whoever you grew up. Like there's certain conversations you're just born into that you don't even realize you're swimming around in. So yeah, I love that. The unlearning. So cool.
Okay, someone teased something about love. Who, Elaine? What was that?
Well, Doreen mentioned it, and I'm so fascinated. I just came back from a vacation with my sister, her husband, their 2 kids, and another family, and it was so awesome. But my re-entry was really hard. I have been crying, and I think it's kicked up a lot of family stuff, and like, I think there's been some guilt and regret. And, I always wanted to be able to be in a position that I could help with college because I love being an aunt and, whatever. Anyway, so, the gift is I've been able to like lean into it. But yeah, I was the opposite of love last night. I was like self-hatred city. That's me. So let's talk about love instead, please. We all can work on that.
Well, I think, Kathy, you mentioned it's either fear or love. And that's when I was way back when in more of my fear, I think I didn't really know about love around yes, I bring kindness and generosity into my sessions. You could say I would say that one of my biggest gifts is my heart. I'm very heartful. But I think actively loving and really understanding what that meant, I'll have to admit that it wasn't until my 50s when I met my husband.
Really? Oh, that's wonderful.
Can you tell us more about that? Because I think that's so cute.
I knew you wanted to hear a little bit about that. And I think it actually does relate to my recovering my voice, finding my voice, and knowing who my real true self is inside and what I wanted. And so the men I must have been attracted to were not right. And thank goodness I didn't settle for something that wasn't right for me. And I think, again, it had to do with me being able to speak up and say, no, not you. No, not you. There are a lot of no, not yous.
I resemble that remark? Yes.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you had come to a place in your evolution and healing that you finally in your 50s, and I just wanted our listeners to hear this because I'm in my 50s and I have several girlfriends who are single and who are kind of languishing a little bit about it. And I'm always like, it's never too late, but you got to get out of your house. You got to get from behind your computer. But can you just take us, like, how did you meet your husband, or tell us a little bit about that journey?
Let's see. I met Earl in grammar school. He was a little skinny kid with big ears and bright blonde hair. And let's just say I matured early in life. I think you two might understand what that means.
Yes.
And through high school, we were just friends. And he was student body president. I was the head of the cheerleaders and school spirit commissioner. So that we were active in school. So I knew him that way. But it was 20 years later that I met him at a reunion. Yes, high school reunion. It's a place to go back in time and say, ooh, this person has matured in such a way that he's very attractive. But again, I think it has to do with knowing yourself, knowing who you are, and knowing what I was attracted to so many wrong people, I would say, that matched my family history. Alcoholics, people who were at a distance, unavailable, bottom line, unavailable.
Oh, that used to be my favorite thing to do. Right. The bad boys.
Yes,
They're so
yes.
cool that he's so aloof. I understand him like nobody else.
Oh,
I don't know if you ever said that to yourself, but
yeah, yeah. This is a whole conversation we could have around that, Elaine. Wow. So just basically, it took several years because we were pretty ensconced in our lives, me building my business and he building a family. But we got together finally in our 50s. And when the time was right and the readiness was there, and I'd done many classes on how to find your soulmate, and I was really on a search. I mean, gee, I had a PhD, I had a business, I had a book, I had all these things. It's like, next, marriage.
right.
No, it doesn't happen until it happens. And so I guess what we're talking about is love. This person is love on steroids. He's just a loving human being, and I think I've learned because of Elaine. You talk about your own history. I think because of our histories, we close ourselves down and make ourselves unavailable and make choices, and so it takes a lot to reach me. And he was patient, and I feel like he reached the deepest parts of my heart, and I know what love feels like now.
Wow. That's amazing.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Doreen. Like I just want people listening, like it's never too late.
Right.
And yes, I mean, I think if anything resonates about like, I'm always picking unavailable people, there might be a part of you that's unavailable. Ask me how I know. I have the t-shirt, the bumper sticker, and Kathy, I would love if you wanted to chime in for whatever you feel comfortable with. You have a delightful marriage, and you went and bought frozen mice because you took vows. Like you cleaned up
Yes.
frog poop because you took vows. Like that's love.
I know.
Man.
I go and buy super worms, yes, for that very reason. Yeah, it was, for me, I had really relegated myself to the spinster aunt. We had already had some examples of that in my family, so I was just going to be the one that was really, really great with all the nieces and nephews and plan all the family activities. And, I can't say this enough. People kept telling me this, and I thought they were idiots, but I'm just going to risk it and say, when the time is right, the time is right. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. It's as simple as that. If you have to talk to 50 million people about whether it's right, it's not right. And so I met my husband for the first time at the Oat Bran in a bread and circus, which later became Whole Foods. And
What? The oat bran?
yes, we were at the Oat Bran. I was with a friend, and she knew him and introduced me, and we were comparing our day planners. Like he had a day runner or a day timer. I had a Franklin planner. Isn't that, I know, it's a heck of a story. Film at 11. But then, after a while, there was a party that a friend of mine had, and I was invited there, and it turned out he was also invited there. And so when we started chatting, we hit it off so well. We both were singers, and we knew some pretty obscure composers, and we'd sung their works, and we got along so well that I was so convinced I'd met my new gay friend. And so when he wanted to take my number for coffee, I'm like, sure, absolutely. And he called me the very next day, which for him was like really holding back. And he asked me if I wanted to, go out on a date. Not before he had asked me how I was feeling and how I talked about there was this guy I had a crush on and da 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 and this, that, and the other thing. And he said, wow, this is a really great conversation, but I am asking you out on a date. And And, and he said, and some people have thought that I'm gay because he knits, but he stunt knits, right? That's kind of a guy thing, don't you think? Stunt knitting. He doesn't like stand in crazy positions when he knits, but he knits really complex stuff. He's a composer, a playwright, an editor. And so I was mortified. A chef, yes. And I was mortified. And at that time, this is pre-iPhone, I said, oh my God, thank God we don't have picture phones, because I was absolutely mortified. But what had to happen for me when you talk about building those walls and retreating inside, I had to think this person was totally unavailable to me for me to be my actual self. And just be who I was and play and have fun and chit chat. I was so guarded and well defended. So anyway, that's the story. And so I call it the winter of my content, unlike Richard's, which was a discontent. And we've been together ever since. And that was when I was about 36 or 37. By that time, most of my other family members were married or in relationships, having children. And you know what? We're not on the same time clock. There's chronological time, and then there's kairos, which is our time, or the time it takes, or the right moment. And it doesn't necessarily come in chronological order. I'm going here, I'm going here, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And people get upset when it doesn't go in that order, because you're like, you should by now insert activity that you think they should have achieved by now. So
great. Doreen, can you see why I call her? Like, we call it ledge talk. I'm like, Kathy, do you have a minute? I'm messed up in my head. And, and it's so great. And that's been one of the biggest gifts. And that's why we were like, oh, we have to start this podcast to help the people who are in the masterminds, but they're not going at the right pace, whatever that is. Or the people who have done lots of different things, but they feel like, oh, my business isn't, I have yet to meet an entrepreneur lately who's like, oh, my business is amazing. So many people are like, well, I'm not doing this, da 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 da. I'm like, we all have so much judgment about where we think we're supposed to be, but it's like, according to who?
Right.
Yeah. You're what both of you are talking about right now. I think back when I was sitting in my office, I have a book called You Can't Hurry Love. And that would inspire me around in my search for a partner. And I think that's pretty much what you just said, Kathy, too, around.
Now, is that book for sale?
If you look it up on Amazon, I don't remember the author.
Oh, I thought you were the author. I thought that was your book.
No, my book is Essential Speaking, the 7-step guide to finding your real voice. And so I think that the real voice is what helped me find my partner. And not only that, be able to say, I'm scared, I have abandonment issues. So like when he would leave to go on a business trip, I don't want you to go, and he was, just the kind of gentleness and the kindness to be with me as I was dissolving some of those old wounds. And, he would return. So that helps. Like, oh, he's back. Yay. And that he didn't go away forever like my mother did and like my father did. So.
Right. What a beautiful gift. I always think it's so cool when you get to be with people or parent the way you wish you had been parented. And even maybe that's like self-parenting, or, when you can be with a healing partner. So, well, that's great, Doreen. So, I'm just curious, do all of your clients come seeking self-expression in their voice? Or some people are like, I'm neurotic, I want help with this. I mean, can you tell me like what kind of people you usually work with?
That was funny the way you said that I'm neurotic. To have somebody say, yes, I am. I would say that initially, when I got out of Berkeley and started my practice 40 years ago, I was more working with people who self-identified as having some kind of problem in their life. And I didn't really want to specialize. I mean, it's kind of like travel. Like, what am I going to get to see next hour?
Right. What
You
kind
know?
of gift? What kind of gift are we opening?
Yes, 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 yes. What kind of challenge? So it wasn't until, that moment when I was confronted about my own speaking did I realize, boy, I had a lot to learn. I learned a lot, and then I made it into my coaching programs, my Find Your Voice, Change Your Life coaching programs. And so right now I've transitioned from being a straight up psychotherapist.
Okay.
Wow, do I bring that to helping people uncover, helping people get at the roots of their speaking anxiety, and then also helping them. We haven't said much about this yet. You're talking about love, but presence, finding the way to be fully present in the now, connected to who you are and speaking, expressing yourself from this core essence, unique human being that you are.
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. I love it. Well, I want to get your book because, I do my own version of that. And I'm just fascinated because I think our voices say so much, right? And I am working with this amazing young woman. She's in financial planning, and her outgoing message, we've been working together about a month. I said, "How old is your outgoing message?" And she said, "It's about 2 years old." I said, "Yep." Said, "We got to redo that because it sounds like, hi, this is so and so with so and so. I'm saying all the right words, but I hope you like me. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right?" Like, there's so much of that. And I'm like, you had 2 years of experience and success and training and wisdom. Let's re-record it because you're a different person. And I find that happens so many, do you ever go to networking and you know somebody and then when they introduce themselves, they're like, "Hi, I do da da da," So anyway, I'm just fascinated by what we do with our voices. And I love helping people tap into that core power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's peeling away layers. And Kathy, do you want to add on to any of that?
Well, what you're saying is, yes, speaking from, when you're actually speaking from where you're meant to speak, your breathing is the way it should be, your posture is the way it should be. And so it's something very critical and foundational to be able to find that place, because you're right. There are times when some people, when you hear that voice, you can just tell that someone's not in their register. And so what is that saying? It's saying exactly how you just diagnosed it, Elaine. That was just beautiful how you put it. So wind back up a little bit, guys, and listen to what she just said about that, because I loved how you put that. It was perfect.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So, Doreen, we could talk with you forever, but I would love to, if you could tell our listeners who you work with, how they can find you. Tell us the name of your book again. What's your social security number? Oh, just kidding. Not that one.
Well, my Kathy earlier talked about process. That once you know that there's a process, and that's what I've designed based on my own journey, my inner journey, and going to all these programs and putting it together into 7 secrets is what I call them, because the first step in finding your voice is learning about how to be still, how to drop down into this vast, grounded, still place inside. And the second is being fully present, what techniques you can use to find to be totally in the now, so that from stillness with presence, you can gaze out softly. That's the third secret, is having a soft gaze when you speak. And then listening is the fourth secret. Listening in such a way not that you're the speaker, but you're the listener. So we turn it totally around into how do you be in front of people being a listener? And that's it has to be really felt, and it's an experience, and it's hard to teach, but that's what part of my coaching is about. And then tapping into the fifth secret, which is this core that we are all talking about today, the core essence, the positive spirit, the totally absolute, most strong, positive spirit of who you are. And nobody could ever take that away. And it's what I hid. It's what we hide because it's so vulnerable. But once we make it into a strength, it's like my heart. I think my heart is my strength, but I had to bury it and put walls around it for so long, but it's my strength. And now it's open. I let people in. And then the seventh secret is connection, which is connecting to that core inside of you, but also learning how to connect to the core beauty inside of other people. And then the last secret is, it's what most programs talk about, just be yourself. But they often start with just be yourself. Being yourself is a journey. And so that's what I feel like
yes.
That's what I do.
Thank you. Put that at the end, please. I can't, I'm 53 and a half. And when people are like, just be yourself, for most of my life, I've been like, I don't know what that means. Like, where do I land with that? Because there's so many voices and characters in here,
Right. Just be yourself as an outcome. It really is.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's
beautiful. Love it. Doreen, it's so beautiful. So if people want to find you, where do they find you?
Well, I think I'm Doreen, Doreen. So Doreen7steps.com, I think, would be the best place. Doreen7steps.com it would be the best way to engage and get my 7 secrets. The website is essentialspeaking.com. Essentialspeaking.com.
Essentialspeaking.com. I love it.
Well, it's speaking from the essence of who you are, right?
Yes.
That's what I
love it.
Yeah.
So great. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I could talk all day long, but I'm like, Elaine, don't go on a rant here. And Kathy Keegan, who is the most amazing speaker, author, coach too, she helps people if you feel stuck at work, like you're going to, lose it, or you're not sure if you want to stay, or I got to get out. She helps you in any of those areas. Her mission is to help relieve needless workplace suffering. Am I right, Kathy?
Oh, yes.
Forget anything?
Yes, so much of it is self-inflicted, not necessarily by you, but by humans. Let's face it, if you work somewhere and there are other humans there, then we should talk.
If you're not a robot, we should talk. And so people find you at your fabulous website, Kathy Keegan. That's KathyKeegan, KathyKeegan.com. Yeah, she's an amazing coach, and she might break into song, but you'll love it. So
it'll be funny. And Elaine, I really want people to be able to learn how to tell their tales and to do it in a way that's so much fun. And I got a chance to work with Elaine a few years ago, and it was amazing. The first call, it was just sort of like, I felt like I had just been embraced in a big, huge snuggie of support and inspiration. And that's what you bring. It's really something.
Oh my God.
And so, Elaine, how do people get in touch with you if they want to look, sound, feel better on camera and be able to tell a story about who they are that comes from that place of who we are?
Wow. Well, thank you. I love, that's the nicest thing, a snuggie. Because I believe when we feel safe and supported, magic happens, right? Like magic, it's healing. It's, we all have this voice. We all come to the earth, like in the moment, right? We're not holding on. We're like totally in the moment. We want what we want. And then, you know, we get socialized, inside voices, don't say that. And we get like put in this box. And, you know, I'm like, come be free. So anyway, thank you so much for the kind words. And yes, I do. I have captivatethecrowd.com with C's, Captivate the Crowd. And I do a master class. I'm doing a deep dive into story next Wednesday, how to use story and weave it through everything that you do, which is marketing, but don't tell anybody. And yeah, and thank you so much for listening. We were so grateful to have you. And if there's some topic you want us to explore, please invite us, comment, message us wherever you're finding our podcasts. And
I just want to say thank you.
Oh,
Thank you again to Doreen for bringing such groundedness, presence, and wisdom to our podcast today. I'm very, very grateful. And I have one other question, which is it the number 7 or 7 spelled out in your website address, in your
Yes, either way.
Oh, awesome.
Number 7. Yeah.
Oh,
snap. Yes, I took care of that.
Brilliant. No, she's brilliant. Isn't it so brilliant? Because sometimes the simplest thing, you're like, well, who is this person? So
this is a wise woman you need to know.
Yes. Thank you so much for spending time with us. And thank you, everybody. Have an awesome, awesome day, morning, week. Bye.
So long, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.